Everyone. The verse I will talk about today is 2 Timothy 3 verse 5. Holding to the form of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid these people. This is a letter that Paul wrote to Timothy sometime in the mid-60s. And during that time, there were many false teachers. Now, what is different about these teachers that we need to be aware of and be careful about? They would appear to be very religious, and at first glance, it would seem that they followed Christ. And such teachers are unfortunately around in these days as well. But what do we need to do then? Well, we need to check if what they're teaching, what they're doing, aligns with the Bible. Because if it doesn't, and consistently so, then we should definitely avoid them. Because they could actually lead us away from Christ. And, well, that's not what we want to happen now, is it? If they teach something very worldly or putting unnecessary restrictions between us and Christ, they're false teachers. So, especially on social media, if you find someone new who appears to be preaching the gospel, always check if it aligns with the Bible, what they're teaching. Because if it doesn't, it's not someone you should follow or subscribe to. Because if they're not of Christ, if they aren't changed by the Spirit, then they might lead you astray. They might not, but why take the risk? And we should always do that. We should all not look for human approval, worldly approval, but rather look for the will of God. Because there are false gospels out there. There are people teaching those false gospels. It's very important for us to discern if the ones we follow are really also following Christ. And I know it's difficult to always be aware of things, but we are not alone. We can ask for this discernment, for wisdom, and we can use so many tools nowadays to check if something aligns with the Bible. I've heard talk about the Haven Bible Chat app, and from what I've heard, it's great, but unfortunately that app isn't free. Now, the one I use, from what I understand, works pretty similarly, and it's the Torch Bible Chat app. It's really easy to use, and whenever I make these videos, I always ask that app about the verse I'm talking about in order to have a broader perspective on it. And it's really helpful. Now, granted, while there is a free version, there are ads in that version, but it's not too much of a bother. And if you want and have the money for it, you can always upgrade, so that way you'll be ad free. Now, that's of course only an option. In any case, sometimes we already think something appears too good to be true, and especially in that case, we should check if it's actually too good to be true, or if it is actually true. Be mindful of what you're watching, because we're being influenced every day, and we need to decide who and what we're influenced by. God bless you.